Check one, test one.
Thank you.
We need to behave ourselves as lives.
And I hope everyone that's at the other buildings can hear me okay. I can't see you, but I know you can see me. Thank you, ladies, for coming here at Howard. I appreciate that. As you can tell, we're going to be talking about behavior plans. I think this is wonderful for all of you that you have this opportunity to do these trainings because you are such a vital part in this whole process. When you're here with the kids and you're supporting them, I think this is wonderful for you. I'm so happy that you all have this opportunity. Just so you know, I wore your shoes once. Back when I was in college, I started out exactly where you are. I was an aide. So I have the utmost respect for all of you. Some aides that have worked with me know that. And for Hannah, she's one of my aides right now this school year, so she knows. It's just great. I value what you guys do because without you, my room would not run how it should. All the rooms that have the support that involve you all, we need that. So you all are a blessing. So I'm thanking you for being here and I'm thanking you for what you do for our kids. With that, here we go. That's me. Hello. Hi. Yes, I am Nancy Pavlic. I am currently at the high school. I am a teacher for the 811 and life skills classrooms. I actually started here at Howard, and then I went over to the high school. And overall, in all my years, I've been doing this for 25 years. And I love what I do. I love the kids that I teach. I love working with the aides that I work with. So it's like a whole big package deal. It's really nice. So we're talking about behavior plans. So while we're talking and I'm going through the slides, I'm going to share some of my own information, things that I've experienced. Again, I used to wear your shoes, so I know what it's like to be the aide, you know? So that kind of helps because you have somebody who understands what you're going through, and I know what's going on or can understand what is needed for the students. So It just helps out. So as we're going through the slides, we're just going to give some, some extra information. And at the end, if you have any questions, you can ask. If you don't feel comfortable, you can send me an email for any questions, or if you think of something later, you can just send me an email. Okay, why do we need behavior plans? I'm sure you've heard about behavior plans. You maybe have heard about them from the teachers you work with or from other professionals that are connected with the students that you're working with. So pretty much, in a nutshell, the reason why we need behavior plans is because a student's actions is preventing them from having progress, okay? There's all different kinds of struggles that the student could be facing, and if we see that this is causing some difficulty for them as far as their overall learning, their overall education, that means they need help. They need more support. And this is where the plans come in, okay? And you being in the position you are between aides and monitors, that's important too. You're a part of this because you're, again, supporting the student. First thing, when we're talking about behavior plans and we see that a student is struggling, we need to have a functional behavioral assessment. You're going to hear sometimes a lot of abbreviations, like you might hear people passing in the hall or in class and hear, oh, did you see the FBA and the BIP and the IEP and the CSC and it's all these letters, and you're probably like, okay. And you might know some of it, you might not. But because some of this is lengthy, we shorten it. So an FBA is a functional behavioral assessment. And what this is the process that identifies a specific or target behavior that interferes with a student's learning and overall education. Important line here, you must have parental consent. They need to know what's going on, they need to approve that you're going to do this, okay? And you're using this method to identify why Susie's struggling, Mikey's having a hard time in class, kids are having various behaviors, something's going on. So we have to figure out and get to the bottom of what's happening so we can help them be successful in their education. The function of the behavior. So, first of all, behaviors can serve multiple functions. When you're looking at different students, every student's individual. Student A's behaviors are not going to be the same as student B's behaviors. Everyone's individual. So the assessments are individualized, but they might have more than one function. And we will talk about the different functions. The FBA tells us why the behavior is happening. That's the kicker. That's what you want. You want to know why. Sometimes people are just looking at what they're doing. I always say, okay, you can see what they're doing. Ask yourself why. When they're having a behavior difficulty or they're struggling, they're communicating to you. They're letting you know something's wrong. I don't like something. Maybe you have students who have limited communication abilities. They are trying to express however they can. If they're not happy about something, they're going to show it in their way. We have to show them other ways, so it's more appropriate. So we need to know why this is happening. Also, the understanding the function of a behavior can help develop the best intervention and treatment plans for the students. Once you understand what's going on, and you know that, okay, this is happening with this student's struggling for whatever reason, and we clearly know why, okay, now we can come up with some strategies. Now we can figure out how we can help this student. The first step in changing problem behavior is to determine why the student is engaging in it. It's always going to be the why. You want to know why. Yep, they're having the behavior difficulty, and there are different behaviors they can display. Why? Why are they doing what they're doing? Again, I'm always going to say this. They're letting you know something. It's their way of communicating. They're frustrated. they're sad, they're angry, they're feeling all kinds of emotions. They're going to show you in their way. You cannot change the behavior until the why is discovered. There's no way. You have to know why. Once you know why, you will have strategies that can be put together to help so those behaviors decrease. Because again, we want them to have more appropriate skills, more appropriate behaviors. I'm sure some of you have had students that struggle a lot. Maybe they're not able to tell you. Or even if they are able to tell you, they need to learn how to express it. I had a student, very verbal, was able to talk to me like I'm talking to you now, and he would get so upset. And he would have a great deal of difficulty. He did not know how to express his emotions. He would just act out because he was frustrated, sad, or angry. We worked on it. I worked on it because I knew what was going on. Once he knew to tell me how he was feeling, everything changed. I'm sad because blah, blah, blah. I'm not happy because blah, 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 blah. One day, he was mad because the cafeteria ran out of pizza, and he wanted that pizza for lunch. We didn't know. He wasn't able to tell me that, but I was able to get him to express it. So say you can have a student that is very verbal and can communicate but still have difficulties, and then you can have students that are nonverbal and have limited communication, and they're going to show you in other ways. You need to know why they are displaying the behavior so that you are able to decrease the behavior or replace it with a more appropriate one. The example I just shared with you. My student was mad. He was expressing himself inappropriately, and he would just go from 0 to 60 instantly and just have a tantrum. He wasn't able to calmly say to me, you know what, I'm not happy because I missed art class today. But because we were able to figure that out and see what the function is, we were able to work on teaching him how to use his emotions and talk to us before we got to that escalated time for him. It made a big difference. So his behaviors then drastically decreased. And that's what you want. You want the behaviors to decrease. You want them to be more appropriate. So either we're decreasing the behavior, and we can also replace it with something more appropriate. How to find the function of the behavior. So you as aides, you're with your student. I'm not sure where all of you are. I don't know if it's all elementary. I know middle school, high school schedules are constantly changing. Kids are in and out of the room, especially at the high school. Classes are always changing, so who's always with them? You. You're with them. You're their aide. You're their support. You may be asked, hey, you know what? You were with Joey in art, or you were with Susie in the cafeteria. Did you notice anything? Did you see anything? How were they? You might be asked for some feedback because we're trying to figure out what's causing the struggle. Why are they having a difficult time? So you are a very important piece to this. And I've done that in the past with my own aides because they're constantly in and out of the room. They're changing schedules, they're changing classrooms, so they're with them. So sometimes I need to know, so how was so-and-so in this class? Did you notice anything? Was anything bothering him or her? So, you're always with the students, so you have a lot of that information. You're able to help piece together what's needed so we can come up with some good strategies for the student. Direct classroom and school observations. In the classroom, could be anywhere in the building, to see what's going on. Maybe there's only struggles happening in a certain environment. Maybe it's only a certain time of day. You want to look if there's a pattern, okay? When we're doing the observations, we need to take data. Data is huge with this. because we need to document what's going on. What are they doing? When are they doing it? What triggered it? So some forms of data that we do, we can take an ABC data. I'm not sure if you've heard this, but ABC stands for antecedent, behavior, and consequence. This is a general form of taking data where you're just seeing the antecedent is what's happened before the behavior, what were they doing? The behavior, obviously, what were they displaying? What was the struggle that they were having with? What were they doing? And the consequence, what happened after. When you have a lot of that information on paper, you can pretty much see what could be causing the problem, or what's causing the struggles. Why are they having a hard time? Is it all day long? Is it only in a certain class? Is it only with a certain person? Could be anything. When you take the data, you see it. You could be asked, if you're traveling from room to room, you might be asked, could you just document what you see during this class? Maybe there's nothing. Great, no issues, everything's going great. Or maybe you notice something. You jot it down. And there's a sheet, which I'll show you. I have a sample. You just jot it down. It's really self-explanatory. Again, your feedback as an aide supporting the student is going to help when the plan is created, and we're coming up with strategies to help the students. Then we have another form of data where we're just taking frequency. Frequency is just counting the number of times the behavior is occurring. You can have a student that is repeatedly doing the same thing over and over again, same behavior over and over again. You're just taking tally of how many. Again, might be certain times a day, with certain people, environment, materials. Lots of things come into play when you're looking at a student struggling with behaviors. Then we have duration, the length of time a behavior occurs. Someone could ask, well, how long did Mikey have this behavior? How long was he struggling for in class? 2 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour. Writing down the duration can show you exactly how long the behavior is happening. How long is the student displaying this, and how long does it take for him to relax and calm down? So with that, you're only looking for the time. Speaking with staff that know and work closely with the student. You're a part of that. You're supporting the student, you're going with them from class to class. You could be in the cafeteria. I know a lot of you work in the cafeteria supporting the kids during lunchtime. That's huge too, it's a big help. You may be asked, hey, did you notice anything? How's he or she been doing? There are things that we need to document. Have you noticed any struggles? Because the students are going to struggle no matter where. It can happen anytime during the day. Sometimes you don't know when it's going to happen. So it's all of this information is so important and coming from you, because you're a part of that. That's crucial. Because again, you're with them all day. This is a sample of a blank ABC data sheet. They come in many different forms, many different styles. There's so many ways. But pretty much it's the same 3 pieces of information that you're looking for. The antecedent, the behavior, and the consequence. If you're going with a student to another location, you're leaving, let's say I'm going to use my classroom as an example. My students are with me in the morning, first, second, third period, then, now it's time to switch classes, like high school kids, they're coming and going from one class to another. They're going to gym, they're going to lunch, they have elective classes, busy schedules. I cannot be there 24/7. I'm going to turn to you. and ask you, how was it? How was fourth period? How was lunch in the cafeteria? Is there anything I need to know? You yourself, without even me approaching you, can come up to me and say, just want you to know this is what we saw, this is what we observed. So-and-so had some struggles for whatever reason. Again, all this information, this is important because we want this. So we can figure out what's going on so we can help the students. It's all about helping them so they're not struggling anymore. If they're continuously struggling, their learning and their education, the progress is not going to be there. We want them to make the progress. We want them to make gains. We want to help them too. So having a sheet like this, very straightforward. What happened directly before the behavior occurred? What did the behavior look like? And then what happened directly after the behavior happened? And if you're taking this type of data all day long, you could see so many different patterns. You could see maybe some that are just one type of pattern where you can pick up really quick, like, oh, I think we know what's happening here. We know why Mikey's struggling. Having this gives you a nice picture of what's going on. Okay, with the function of the behavior, MEETS. This is a useful acronym that summarizes the function of any behavior. School psychologists use this as a pretty good lens when we're trying to figure out what is the function of the behavior. Why is the student struggling? Doesn't have to be one type. Maybe there's more than one function happening. When you have students who have limited communication or have a difficult time communicating, and they don't feel well, they're going to tell you in their own way that they don't feel well. I've had students where they would just, you could see the struggle, you could see the discomfort, but they can't tell me. So I'm always watching their body language, their facial expressions. They're like an open book. They can tell you. I had a student once, very limited communication. Maybe 1 to 2 words for things that he wanted or needed. And there was a day where you could see he just was not, something was wrong. You could tell. When you're with the kids long enough, you know when something's bothering them. And he was getting really angry, upset, struggling. You could see the body language tightening, tense. Didn't know, and then you're watching, you're paying attention, you're observing, and all of a sudden you see this. You see this, and it's always on this side. Like, he's like really hurting himself. I'm like, what? Why this side? We tell the parents, lo and behold, he had an infected tooth. He couldn't tell us, hey, my tooth is killing me, I have a toothache. But he was showing that he was in pain. Because that's how he knew to tell us. That was his way. He was so angry and upset because we all know toothaches are not pleasant. They're very painful. But again, you're paying attention. You're watching the body language. You're watching the facial expressions. Sometimes you'll have students who can point. If you know something's wrong, and something's not right, and all of a sudden for like the past week, they're having a lot of difficulty, a lot of struggles, they might be able to point to what's bothering them. Are they having a headache? Are they doing this? Are they pointing? You just want to be mindful if there is some type of medical situation. Then we have escape. Student does not want to complete their work. That happens. We've probably all seen that. It's time to do either, let's say, some worksheets, maybe follow through with some activity schedules. Whatever the work is given, somebody doesn't feel like doing it at that moment. So what do they start doing? They're going to walk away. They're just going to get up out of their chair and be like, I'm not doing this. They're just going to run off to the other side of the classroom. They don't want to listen to you. They're like, nope, I don't want to do this. So what starts happening? They start having their own struggles, and they're letting you know, I don't want to do this for whatever reason. Maybe something's too hard. Maybe it's too boring. They're just going to get up and leave because they're telling you, I am not doing this right now. So now how do we get that person back? Well, they have to have a reason. They have to have that momentum of, oh, wait, sure, I'll come back and finish that work because you're motivating now. You're going to motivate them because you're going to have that great reinforcer for them. They have to have a reason. If you get that right reinforcer, Mike, you'll come back and sit down. You tell him, okay, listen, you want this cookie? Let's finish our work. That's the payoff. And that's how we increase the positive behavior. We increase the appropriate behavior. We are constantly reinforcing them. And I'm not saying you have to give them something like a cookie. Social praise. A lot of kids love social praise. Oh my God, you're doing such a great job, woohoo! Ms. Fahana, you know, I'm one of the ones that's like the cheerleader in the room. I'm like, yes! You gotta see me, I'm like jumping around the room like, you did it, good job! Because it's great. And you want them to feel that energy from you. You want them to, oh, wait, I did something great. Oh, I'm gonna do that again. Well, that's what you want. You want that to happen. How about attention? Students might start acting a little silly. Maybe we're going to start doing some yelling and screaming in the midst of class. Because I want your reaction. I want you to look at me, I want your eye contact, so I'm going to do everything and anything to get your attention. Yeah, not appropriate, but we can teach them how to appropriately get your attention. So you might even notice things like that. Like some students might be doing it, and they think they're like the class clown, because now, oh, well, I'm not doing my work now, so now, oh, there's two functions here. I'm not getting my work done because I'm just going to start doing all this other stuff to get your attention. Another function of the behavior. Tangible. They want something really special. They're like, I want whatever that is. I want that toy. They know where the food is hidden. There's a book somewhere, an activity that somebody else is doing. Happens. You probably have seen it. When kids want something, they want it. Whether or not it's the right time, they just want what they want sometimes. So they might have a behavior or show some struggles because they want something specific. Okay. If they want a certain game, a certain toy, that's fine. We can earn it. Let's get back on track. Let's get our work done. Get them back in the chair, motivate them with what they want. As soon as they start doing it, praising them, whoa, great job, great, whatever that thing, they did it, boom, they get it. So you're just showing them, hey, wait, so I listen, I sit and do my work, I get that thing that I want, that toy, the book, whatever it is. Again, reinforcement, but you're using what they want for them to show the appropriate behavior. Sensory. This one's, in my experience, I feel like this is a big one. You might notice there are certain kids who, for whatever reason, they may use some type of movement because they like how it feels. They might be moving their whole body. Maybe they're trying, maybe for them it's a way to relax. If they're trying to relax, if they're worked up. Sometimes you see our kids, they're very anxious. And, you know, it's hard. You feel so bad because you can see the anxiety. Look at yourselves. If you struggle with anxiety, you know how that feels. So you look at our students who are struggling, especially in the past 2 years now with everything going on. Like, it was a lot for them, a lot for everybody. So they may be doing something to just help themselves, okay? But sometimes it's not appropriate. Like, we're not going to be sprinting in the classroom or, you know, throwing our hands up. And, you know, there's safety issues too, so we want to be mindful of these things. But they might like to just rock in their chair. Or they're doing something with their hands There's many, many things that they could be doing. I have in my room, I have an area in my classroom where it's like the calming corner, I call it. It's just like an area where the kids could just relax. You know, like in my room, we have the area with the desks where we do all our lessons and all our work. We have a life skills area where we're doing our life skills activities and cooking. But then I always make sure that I have a spot in my room where they could just go and just be. They need a few minutes, they're feeling anxious, they're stressed out, they need a break. I have like comfy chairs, and I have a bin that has all kinds of sensory toys, fidgets, like the stretchy strings, anything like the sequins, anything that's tactile that they could use in their hands, stress balls. Like I have so many different toys for the kids to use. And they go and get it. They get it, they hold it, like those poppers. Oh, have you seen the popper? This is like it, like I have this, and those of you who know me at the high school, there's many of us who have these hanging on our lanyard because I'm giving them to everybody. But I give them to my students, I've given them to teachers, I've given them to aides. It works. And the reason why I have mine here is if I'm ever like on the go, which I'm always on the go, and if I see someone's having a tough time and they just need something, well, guess what? This is coming right off my neck. Because sometimes you can't keep everything on you. And I'm one of those that I'm trying to keep everything with me because, hey, you never know when somebody needs something, right? So Farhana's laughing because she knows. But I always keep things there to help them. I have a student who sometimes you can see she's very anxious. She'll ask me if she can go sit in the calm corner, or she'll go sit back. What does she do? As soon as she goes back there, she's opening the drawer and she's pulling out the poppers, she's pulling out like the squeeze balls, like all kinds of different sensory, and you can see she's just holding, like she needs to hold it. That's okay. At least that is helping her to relax. If she's anxious about something or something is causing her some stress, that's why we have those things available, so that can help them. And great on her part that she did it on her own. Sometimes kids can do that. They can surprise you. Our kids can surprise us every single day with everything. And to see that someone like her was able to do that, kudos to her. Because now she knows she can always turn to that, you know? And just to share with you also, I do a lot of mindfulness practices with my kids, breathing exercises. That's the one thing, repetition, we're constantly doing that. All of a sudden, someone's having a tough time. Someone's upset, someone's frustrated, someone's angry, someone's throwing something across the room. First thing they start doing, because they know that doing the breathing exercises helps them relax, because we do this every morning. Great on their part, without having to be told, hey, don't forget to do this. They just start doing it. Or they just have to look at me and they're like, okay, wait, breathing exercise. And it helps. Ultimately, that's what you want to do. All this is for is to help them. With all their struggles and everything that they're having a difficult time with, we're giving them strategies so they can be helped. So they're not struggling anymore. And sure, do you have to maybe remind somebody? Yeah, you have to tell the student, hey, let's do this, whatever the strategy is, you do it. Some kids, show them once or twice, and all of a sudden, oh, they know. Oh, great. You're still monitoring them, you're still making sure they're doing what they can, because ultimately, you just want to make sure that they're okay. That's all we want, is for our kids to be okay, and that they're safe, and that they're happy. Because when they're happy, then we're going to see the progress. Because that's what we want. It all goes back to that. Behavior intervention plans outline a set of strategies and supports for a student that encourages appropriate behaviors and is based on the results of a functional behavioral assessment. Need parental consent and a CSC meeting. So, We took all kinds of data, we've done the FBA, we have all this information. Parents give us consent, goes to committee, now we're writing up the plan. The school psychologist is going to take everything that was accumulated, and he or she's going to come up with the plan to help that student. Every BIP, short for Behavior Intervention Plan, should be individualized to the student's strengths and challenges. If Susie's BIP is all mapped out with her strategies, for her, Mikey's not going to have the same thing. Mikey's BIP is going to be for Mikey's needs. You might have students with similarities, but their plans are their own plans. They're not going to be the same because every student's individualized. So you're meeting their individual needs. The number one goal of any intervention plan should be to teach the student a more appropriate skill. Again, I'm going to go back to my student who was not able to express to me appropriately that there was something wrong. Because he was so emotional, he was so angry, and I'm telling you, he went from 0 to 6, it was instant. There was no in between. But you knew it was coming. But he wasn't able to express to me what he was feeling and why he was feeling it. Once we were able to pinpoint that, then all of a sudden he turns around and he's able to say, Miss P, I'm not happy because there was no pizza for lunch today. Well, listen, I would be mad too if there was no pizza. And I believe I even said that to him because I love pizza. So I said, I understand. And you know what? We had a little chat and I explained to him, I said, you know what? Sometimes stuff like that happens. But like, it's okay. And I praised him and I reinforced him for being so good in telling me how he was feeling. Another time he was really upset because he wanted to go to art, but he had to go to a related service. It was either speech or OT. But he loves art, loved art. Well, he wasn't too happy then too. And boy, did I hear it. And I was so happy because I was just like, he's telling me. And we're not having the struggles that we were seeing. He's just like talking to me. And he's telling me how he's feeling. And I'm able to now work through that and say, listen, I understand. Sometimes this happens. And he was that type of kid where if you just talk to him, and you gave him the reason, and he was like, all right. He was like, okay, tomorrow's a new day. It was a drastic change in his struggles and his behaviors. But we were able to teach him how to express it the right way. A behavior intervention plan is created after a FBA is conducted, which helps identify the function of the behavior. Exactly, it's in that same order. You always have to do an FBA before you even start making up a plan. And with everything, you need parental consent. So that's the biggest thing. You have to make sure parents are completely aware and they understand why and they give you the consent that this can be done. The BIP must include positive behavioral intervention, strategies, and supports. You know that the student's struggling. You want to help him. We all want to help him or her. We want to take that negative and make it a positive. That's what we want. So we have to come up with strategies that are positive to help he or she. And depending on what the struggle is or what the behavior is, what the function is, there's going to be different strategies for whatever reason. Like I said, strategies for student A might not be the same as strategies for student B, because it's all individualized. What's going to work for this one might not work for that one, and vice versa. It's each his own. But you want to make sure that there's many positive strategies for that student. Not one, not two, maybe a couple. A student's need for a BIP must be documented in the IEP, another three-letter word here, Individualized Education Program, and the plan must be reviewed at least annually by the CSC, Committee on Special Education. So the student that has the plan, it's going to be on their IEP. It's legal. It has the parental consent, the FBA is done, school psychologist is making up this wonderful, beautiful plan. It's on the IEP. So everybody knows now that this student has a BIP and it needs to be followed through. Whatever the strategies are, everyone's going to know how to implement that. The BIP is a legal and confidential document. Very important, okay? We're not just gonna take the BIP and just have like 100 copies floating around. It's for the individual student. We wanna respect them as individuals, respect their privacy. Whatever student A needs to work on or to help with their struggles, student B is gonna have something different. Whoever's working with that student, supporting that student, they will know what needs to be done. They will know how to follow through with whatever technique or strategies need to be done. That's just the right thing to do. So, very important, this is legal. Strategies should be written for each behavior because each behavior might serve a different function for the student. You might have a student that is displaying many different forms of behaviors or struggling, and you might see that there's different functions for it. You could have one student maybe just have one behavior. Maybe they're struggling with one thing. There's one thing that they're just struggling with, and we have to help them get through that. You might have another student that there are 3 target behaviors that need to be worked on. So if there's 3 target behaviors, you need strategies for those 3 different behaviors. They're not all going to be the same because the behavior is going to be different. The function might be different. Multiple functions. A lot of things to look into and consider when you're supporting the student. Implementing the behavior intervention plan. Okay, this is where you're coming in now. You're the aide, you're with the student, no matter what setting you're in. You're in the classroom, you're in the cafeteria, you're in the gym, you're in wherever. Strategies need to be followed through with. Every person who supports the student should know the steps of the plan and how to implement them. So you're the aide for the student. You, of course, are going to need to know how to implement the strategies. You would need to know what's going on, what's the behavior, how do we help that student? Is there a form of reinforcement that needs to be done? What is that reinforcement? How are we making the negative behavior a positive behavior? What kind of data are we taking? You are an important part to this. You are part of the team. You are part of helping the student. You support them. You are a big piece to this. If you are not sure of how to implement any of the steps, be sure to ask your school psychologist. They're the ones who are writing up the BIP. They're coming up with they're taking all the feedback, all the information, all the data that was taken, and they're coming up with the plan. Then the plan gets reviewed. So that's how you're going to learn. Like you're an aide for a student. You know that there are strategies that need to be implemented. You have to know what those strategies are. How do you implement them? And you can have many questions. Well, good for you, ask those questions. You should ask questions. You need to make sure you understand what needs to be done. We need to know you understand. Everybody, including myself. School psychologist comes up to me and says, Nance, here's the bit for so-and-so. Okay, well, let's go over it. Let's review it. What are the strategies? What do we have to do? Why? How? How are we taking data? Like, there's just lots of questions, and it's okay. You have to ask questions. Nothing wrong with that. Asking questions tells me you want to learn. You want to know what's the right thing to do. And if you're not sure, you ask the school psychologist. They wrote it up. The BIP can be reviewed and changed as needed. That's another important piece. Let's say Mikey, he's got a BIP. Let's say, I'm just going to make this up. Let's say he gets his BIP in October. Okay? Parental consent, went to committee, everything beautiful, approved, great. Strategies are written, everyone knows what to do. Time goes by, school year goes by, now we're getting to, I don't know, maybe January, February. Maybe something needs to be changed. Maybe we're noticing, maybe the reinforcements aren't motivating enough. Maybe a certain strategy needs to be modified for whatever reason, so that happens too. They are checked annually, they're reviewed, they can be changed. Nothing's always in stone because as the student's progressing, then the BIP can change and be modified for the progress. You have to understand a behavior before you can change it. That's it. That right here is gold. Okay? Behaviors. We're all displaying behaviors. You're displaying a behavior right now. We all do it. It's just different for our students. If you can understand why they're doing what they're doing, then you're on the path where you can help them so they're not struggling. Again, you're going to see things, you might ask, well, why? Why are they doing this? Why is he doing this? Why? Well, this is what we have to find out. He's having a behavior. Okay, so that's it. He's struggling. He or she is struggling. Okay, it happens. Look past of the action and ask yourself, why? Something's bothering him. There's a struggle. We have to figure out what it is so this doesn't keep happening. Because again, then there's no progress in his education or her education, right? We want our kids to be successful. We want them to be happy. We want them to know that, hey, there's other ways to communicate. There's other ways to express when something's wrong. There's other ways to tell someone that you want something. You know, there's all these strategies that they can learn to do. But you have to first understand what's going on before anything can be changed. That's the most important piece right here. Because there's always going to be some type of behavior. You yourself display behaviors. It's just how it is. But for our students, the struggles are a little more intense, maybe more deeper, depending on the student and the situation. But once we get a handle on why they're doing what they're doing, then we take that and we're like, all right, now we're going to go with this. Now we're getting the strategies and we're going to help this kid. Because they can't go on like that. Can't. Okay? And you being the aides, huge piece. You're always with them. Always with them. And like, I'm just going to use my aide for Hannah. She knows. Like, in the classroom with the teacher, or myself, if there's a situation, yep, I'm going to do whatever I can to help that student. Because I'm not going to let them struggle. Whatever needs to be done, you have to have done, especially if it's in a BIP. Implement those strategies. Get that reinforcement. Whatever needs to be done, you make that happen for that student. Because ultimately, what you're going to start noticing, you follow all the guidelines and you follow the strategies, everything that's written, you're gonna notice a change. You're gonna notice all of a sudden one day, hey, do you realize that he's struggling less? There's less running out of his seat, there's less yelling and screaming. Now we're talking, depending on the student, yeah. Even students who cannot verbalize, they have PECs, they have a communication system, they use Pavlic. Get that going. That line of communication starts increasing. Oh, if they're able to tell you exactly what's going on or what they want and what they feel, you're going to start noticing that decrease in that behavior. You'll notice whatever's written in that plan, that bib has a strategy for that. You're implementing it and following through, you're golden. Okay, so I just wanted to end on this. I don't know if you realize this, but today, November 16th, is Happy Education Support Professional Day. And on that list, classroom aides. So, to all the aides here and out there in YouTube land in the district, happy Classroom Aides Day to all of you. Like I said, if it wasn't for you, we would not be able to do what we do in our rooms, in our schools, in our district. I have the utmost respect for you. I used to wear your shoes. I know what it's like, and I think you guys are on the right track for what needs to be done and what you're doing here. Listen, you're doing something wonderful. You're here for a reason. And every day you might have a little someone or a big someone that looks to you for that. And that's a great feeling. So kudos to all of you. If you ever want to reach out to me for any reason, any question, anything, you can ask questions right now if you want, or if you come up with something later, shoot me an email. I would have no problem reaching out to you and getting back to you. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Comments, thoughts? No? Okay.